balance loans. The rest of this topic is basically on loans, and we're going to talk about how I'm going to handle the timeline on Wednesday because the class is quite small. I can do regular check-ins on the Fridays to see where you're at and check your maths. So you can think of this as the second half of the topic. Before we were talking about investments. You put money in the bank and it grew. The second half of this topic is about getting money from the bank and you're paying it off little by little with a loan. So the first thing is the idea of reducing balance loan. It's also known as a principal and interest loan. They're the most common method of borrowing money from financial institutions like banks and credit unions. What is happening with a loan? You're a normal person. You're a normie, so you're not walking around with 500 grand to buy a house. So what can you do? You're going to borrow a large sum of money from the bank that you don't currently have. You borrow that required principal from the bank and you agree to pay it back plus the interest on top. Because the bank isn't just going to loan you 500 grand and expect 500 grand back really slowly. That's not earning them anything. They're going to ask for 500 grand back and a lot of interest on top that you pay back little by little. Okay? The financial institutions calculate the interest on the reducing balance of the loan, which is reducing because the regular payments pay off both the principal and the interest charged. So that's why it's also called a principal interest loan. The first notes that you would need is this. Mathematically, what does that look like on TVM Solver? The bank is giving you a giant chunk of money. So what sign is PV going to be? It's not negative anymore because you're getting that from the bank. PV is going to be positive. You're paying the bank back for borrowing that money. So PMT is going to be negative because your money's getting pulled out of your freaking wallet and it's going back to pay them off. At the end of a loan, do you want to owe the bank anything? So FV is going to be 0, okay? You want to have no debt at the end. So pause for notes here. Mathematically, if you look on TVM Solver, PV is going to be positive for a loan, PMT is going to be negative, FV will be 0. A couple of minutes for that. Question, yeah?
Where should I be starting to make it easier?
Go to Bank-to-Say website, find a home loan, what their home loan rate is, screenshot that, save it into your document. Find the house that you want to buy on realestate.com.au, take a photo of the top part, what the house looks like, paste it in your document, take a photo of the home loan calculator. And then the loan amount, do the maths for that like you would have done for work out the payments and then work out how much interest you pay on the home loan that you were saying is the default one for from the bank that you got. Yeah, question?
Do you want me to summarize? What's the steps you gave me to do?
Oh, you could if you want to. That's very, very helpful of you. All right, moving on. I gave you a formula for interest on an investment. It's here in black because you already have this. I'm only showing this because I want to contrast it with the home loan formula. You need a different formula to find the interest charged in a loan because money is moving in the opposite direction. So if you think, you don't need this, but it's useful to understand, the interest on a loan is the total repayments over the time period take away the debt you paid back. This formula here is not in your book, so please get that. The interest on loans is PMT times N, take away PV, take FV. I'll give you time to get that down. That is not in your textbook. They've got a variation of it, but their version only works if you're paying off the loan in full. My version works for a loan that you've partially paid off. And that formula down, and then we'll do Ryan's example here, taking out a 10 grand loan. So highlight it in pink.
Thanks.
That's just in writing what I
Yeah.
said to do. Because as soon as you've got those numbers, he called it BS, but yeah, sort of. Because ultimately, that's what you need to do all of the maths. You could finish all the maths and pass instantly after you've done that. But then to get the rest of your grade, to push it up beyond passing and stuff, is to talk about the realism of it.
Yeah.
Okay? But if you've got maths there, then you can just talk at the maths rather than try to talk and then do maths. Talk and do maths. It's better to just do the maths first. And it's like a framework for what you should talk about after. All right, let's have a look at Ryan. Ryan takes out a 10 grand loan. He wants to repay it over 3 years, 9.6% per annum compounding monthly. Calculate the monthly repayment. So, I'm going to try to demonstrate how to become a ninja at TVM Solver. If you can become fast at TVM Solver, this topic will be like nothing. Okay? If you're going to be slow at TVM Solver, you're going to struggle. So we're talking about a loan already. So what do we know about a loan? PV is going to be what? Positive, negative? Positive, because the bank's giving you that money. Ryan is taking out 10 grand. So PV, 10,000. I'm solving for PMT because I want to know the payments. What do I want to owe the bank at the end of a loan? Nothing. What's the interest rate for Ryan here? 9.6. How often is it compounding? Monthly, so 12, PY and CY are both 12. So the last thing I need to decide is what N is. It's 3 years, and it's compounding and paying 12 times a year, so 3 times 12, 36. So now I can solve alpha, enter. That's telling me he's going to pay $320.80. So show the working. 9.6 PV equals 10 grand. Stars next to PMT, minus $320.80 to 2 decimal points. So $320.80 per month. FV is nothing. PY 12, CY equals 12. That's for A. B. Hence, calculate the total interest charged on the loan. You have an interest formula for loans up here. So Control C. What's PMT? How much is he paying each month according to our TVM solver? Yep. $320.80. How many times is he paying that over the course of 3 years? Which number in TVM solver tells me that? 36 times. N. You're going to pay it 36 times. Take away PV. You took out a loan of 10 grand and you got the debt down to nothing. So equals, I'll press enter there so you can zoom out. Quit out of the TVM solver. 320.8 times 36. Take away 10 grand. So the bank is going to be charging him $1,548.80 interest. I borrowed 10 grand, but it's going to cost me $1,548.80 more. On top of that, C, what is the outstanding balance after 1 year of repayments? Let's go back to TVM solver. What is that TVM solver saying? How much do I owe after 3 years of payments? It says up here, it's here too. 36 payments is 33 years of payments. How much do I owe the bank at the end of that? 0. If I change this to 1 year, so 12, making my payments of $320.80, am I still going to owe nothing at the end of that 1 year? No, I'm still going to owe the bank something. So now, what I'll do, sorry, I'll need to copy and paste that. I'll change that to 12. I know what the payments are. Now we're working out how much do I owe at the end of 1 year. If I change that to 12, negative 320.80, alpha, enter. That tells me after 1 year, negative $6,979.81 to 2 decimal points. So $6,979.81 left owing after 1 year. That's how you handle loan questions, and also that shows how you deal with a loan that hasn't been fully paid off. Okay? If I'm paying the $320.80 for only 1 year, I'm not going to pay it off. There's going to be some left still owing. All right, I'm going to stop the recording there because I'm going to go straight into home loans after this.